All right, well, new here on The Current tonight. A Dixon man is memorializing what's thought to be the worst road bridge disaster in American history. 151 years ago, next month, is the anniversary of when the Truesdell Bridge collapsed in Dixon. 46 people lost their lives, mostly women and children. And now, all these years later, Mark Stock is trying to keep their memory alive. For a while, he used magnet fishing to try and find pieces of the old bridge that were still in the water. Then, Mark brought all the metal pieces he found to a local blacksmithing group. But here's the twist. It turns out the metal that Mark found was not from the bridge. But he didn't let that stop him. And it's why Mark joins us right now here on The Current. Mark, thank you so much for your time and for being here today.
Hi, Shelby.
I understand what you pulled from the river might not be from the bridge, but how did you end up finding a piece of it anyway?
I was fairly embarrassed and down a little bit that all the stuff that I'd been finding over quite a bit, quite a few hours of attempting, it just plain wasn't from the bridge. But I was having a really good day, and I was at WrestleMania in Los Angeles last March, and I got a phone call uh, from an old friend. And he said that he heard that I had been looking for pieces of the bridge, and legend had it that his family had a piece of that bridge in an old house that they had torn down.
Wow. So now, what are you doing with all the metal that you did pull up from the water?
It's all been a tribute to the people that died that day, especially Reverend Pratt. He was the pastor or that was in charge of the baptism that day. His life after that was really understandably pretty hard. He resigned from the pastorship within 6 months and died within 10 years, and he took a lot of the blame. And my being from Dixon, I've known about the tragedy for a very long time, and my thoughts have always been with him and what he went through that day. So I've crafted, it ends up 3 crosses of all the metal that I found.
And what are you going to be doing with those crosses? Where are they going to be displayed at?
Right now, they're up at the Baptist church. That's ideally what I hoped would happen with them, just as an opportunity for me to pay tribute. Because the last year was the 150th anniversary, and my goal was to get it done by then. But having that piece of the bridge, that the railing that you just talked about, having that show up out of the blue was definitely one of the most exciting things that's ever happened to me.
Hmm.
So I was finally able to follow through and design these crosses as a tribute, and they're at the church right now.
Mark, why is this so important to you? I mean, some people might say this happened a century and a half ago. Why go to all of this work?
It's all for Reverend Pratt. He's on my mind all the time whenever I think of this disaster, because there he was, had invited so many people down to a very popular event, a baptism on a bridge. And unfortunately, overloaded bridges, they collapse. And it did, and it killed 46 people. But he took a lot of the blame. And I think inside, he probably never let himself, he, let, was never able to forgive himself. I'm just thinking that. So by me doing this, I'm really hoping just to pay tribute to him and to let people know about him.
Hmm. I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me, but do you feel a connection of sorts to the victims from this disaster?
The connection that I feel is I've been from Dixon. I've lived here most of my life, but these were 46 people from Dixon that passed away, and we still have descendants here from that bridge disaster. Tom Wadsworth, he is an expert on this bridge disaster. His I'm sorry, great grandmother passed away in that bridge disaster.
Hmm. Well,
So
Mark,
there are still people here that over generations, uh, very, very painful stories.
I can only imagine. Mark, the work that you're doing is incredible, and it's remarkable how, the first route of this didn't work, so you pivoted and tried something else and still made it happen. And I just can't thank you enough also for joining us here today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shelby.